As we go through life, we are always exposed to changes. From the moment of conception, we are evolving and changing and adapting and growing. And so change is essential to our lives. When we experience change, it can be one of two things. It can be a change that creates, relief or excitement or inspiration, or we can go through changes that incur grief, disappointment, frustration. Things can change to what we want, and things can change away from what we want. Recently, I went through a change where it was the latter. It was something that I ultimately didn't want. And that change was, for the last 7 years, I've had my boys at home. I've been a stay-at-home dad every single Monday, and obviously other times throughout the week, but definitely on a Monday. And for the first Monday, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have my boys because they both went to school for the eldest and an extra day at nursery for the youngest. And so this was the first time in 7 years that I hadn't had my boys at home. And this was not a change that I wanted. This was a change that felt something I didn't want. It felt frustrating. That society had, created this setup that would pull parents and kids away from each other. And I don't like it. I don't like that at all. If I could have my way, I'd be at home with my kids every single day. But the world is the world. The change needed to happen. I know it was the right change because I knew that this would be a great way of preparing my youngest for when he does 5 days and goes to school next year. So doing this extra day on a Monday was important for him to get used to his peers, etc., and routine. So I knew it was the right change, but that didn't mean that I haven't had to feel the grief of that change. The loss of those days at home with my boys. And it was my first experience of coming home and really getting that sense of, what my mum's always told me about, that empty nest syndrome. You come home and, it's hard. It's a hard adjustment. And maybe you don't have kids, and maybe you haven't gone through that experience, but you've gone through something where it might have been a change that you knew was important for you to make. But ultimately, it still meant you losing something that you loved. In my case, the quality time with my kids on those days. But in other cases, it can be the end of a relationship that you just know it needs to change. But there are aspects of that relationship that you miss. It might be, changing job, moving country. There's lots of different changes that could occur. The loss of youth, the loss of, the way that we were, etc. So not all change is great and enjoyable and coming, with relief. Some change comes with grief. And in those moments, whether it's a change is right for you or not, if you have to make a change where you feel a grief towards it, a dislike towards it, a loss of something that hurts, what do you do in those scenarios? Well, all we can do in those scenarios is we can feel them, feel the grief, feel the loss, because in the feeling we learn something from it. And that whatever we learn is what helps us to grow in life, helps us to be more of who we are and take those next steps forward with more insight and wisdom and ability to make an impact in whatever direction we go in. For me, I've lost those Mondays. I needed to feel that. I needed to grieve that. And that's still a process, because it's quite raw still. But my decision was to use that experience, the love that I have for my kids, and take that and create something with it. And that's why I created this podcast. And I'm trialing it for a short period of time. I don't know if that's going to be the change that I do forever, but I'm trying to utilize the experience of losing something so valuable to help me bring value that I learned from those experiences and all the joy that came with that. and put it into something meaningful to help other people. And so for you, it could be, well, it's just, whatever you do, it's the same thing. You need to feel the grief. You need to feel those emotions. Learn from those experiences, from the grief of the change. And even if it's a change that you really want. And what is it that you learned from that process? What were the opportunities in it? For me, I say I've got opportunities to create and to do things that I couldn't do before. But what is the loss of the relationship, or the change in job, or the moving of the house, or whatever it might be for you? Or like me, your kid's going off to school. What is that thing that you might not like and you might be grieving the loss of? What is that change giving you? What are the opportunities inherently within it that you can use, that you can see value and meaning in? And if you ask those questions, you can turn that challenge of the grief of change and turn it into something that helps you to move forward better. And that's all we can do. So feel so you can learn, and learn so you can grow and have more influence in the areas that you love.